let me start by introducing myself, as I should. My name is Marcelo Orcello, and I'm the strategic agency manager at Google, helping RocketMill with the digital strategy and helping them through Google solutions to grow their business and their clients' business, meaning yourselves. An important thing for today is that this is an event that is co-hosted and co-organized by both parties, because we feel that it's a strong part of the partnership to make sure that we allow your brands to do everything that you want and you can do through Google solutions at the same time. The topic for today, as you have seen when you register and in the opening slide, is how to align your brand and your performance strategy when you think about your marketing strategy as a whole, which I know is top of mind for a lot of you. And as a matter of fact, in a 2022 research done by Forrester, we came to learn that 70% of marketers globally said that investing in creative differentiation and customized engagement is going to be a high priority for them moving forwards. And out of that 70% group, 75% of them said that they will need the help of an agency to do that. And that is why we're here today. And on top of that, we know all the changes that are happening in the digital landscape when it comes to privacy-centric measurement. We co-hosted another event earlier this year that I'm sure some of you participated in to see how we can make sure that your strategies are focused on the people, and now your creatives as well are tailored to the audience that you want to target. But before passing it over to the first of the speakers, we're going to do a little bit of an agenda review. That's the introduction from myself. Then I'm going to pass it over to Jamie from Google, who will walk us through how to take advantage of video in every business call that you may have. Then we're going to hear from Ian, who will be talking on behalf of RocketMill about why it's important to align brand and performance. And as I said at the beginning, we're going to have space for Q&A at the end with both of them. And before I pass it over to Jamie, let's do a little trivia here. So in case you haven't used Google Meets for this before, you will see in the bottom right of your screen a little icon with a triangle, a square, and a circle. And if you click there, you will see this little icon that says poll. And now we're going to start asking a few questions about YouTube and Google Reach to see how much you know already about the things that you can do with Google. Should we start? Perfect. You can see there is a new question added to the poll, so feel free to start responding to that one. The first one, I think, is an easy one. What is YouTube's reach in the UK? Meaning, what percentage of people access YouTube on a regular basis in the country? Is it 71%, 80%, 86%, 92%? Let's give it a couple of more seconds for people to reply. The answer to this one is 92%, which is incredible reach for YouTube, unparalleled reach when it comes to digital, meaning virtually everybody accesses YouTube at one point, which gives us a lot of opportunity to tap into it. Let's go to the second one. What percentage of YouTube watch time globally comes from mobile devices, meaning cell phones? Is it 30%, 50%, 70%, or 90%? I'm sure some of you got it right already. It's 70% of all searches, so the whole watch time come from mobile devices, which again reinforces the fact that we have to be there as a brand present wherever our audience is, whenever they want to watch video. The third one, going to music. Who is the British artist with the most views in a YouTube video globally? So in one single video, is it Adele? Is it Ed Sheeran? Is it Harry Styles? Or is it Sir Elton John? I know I watch video for the four of them, but there's only one right answer for this one. It's very spread across the board, but the actual the right answer is Ed Sheeran, and the video is Shape of You, which to this day accounts for more than 5 billion views globally in that one video. The next one, on average, what percentage of time online is spent conducting searches? Is it 4%, 18%, 33%, or is it 40%? So I know this may sound counterintuitive, but we only spend 4% of our time online conducting searches. The vast majority of our time, we're either watching videos, checking our emails, going on an app, reading the newspaper, checking a website. Imagine all those things that you are not using or taking advantage of when you only are there for search, which is only 4% of the total time spent online. And the last question that I think is the most important. Are you excited about today's session? There is no wrong answers here. Is it either yes, we, or C? Because those are the only 3 languages that I know how to say yes in. But I hope you are excited. And of course, this is just a little tease at the end. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jamie, who will walk us through video for every business goal. Over to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Joe. Sorry, that is a hard one to follow. But thanks so much for having me here. My name's Jamie, and I'm a regional product lead here at Google, and I focus on everything video and discovery. So that's sort of my specialty. What I do is help our clients get the most out of video and discovery through YouTube products. So let's jump in. So I'm sure you guys have all seen the funnel before. And the consumer journey. Obviously, there's awareness, consideration, and action, and we'll go into it a little bit more as we go forward. But as we also know, this process isn't linear like it used to be. I know a long time ago, we used to view it awareness, then your consideration, then action. But now we really see consumers go all around the funnel and come in and out and go up, go down, do research, think they know, and then they go back again. So how does this affect you guys and your brands? Well, first, from a YouTube perspective, we see that 70% of YouTube viewers have said that they have learned about a new brand on YouTube. And 50% have said that they've gone to YouTube for research and to learn more about a specific brand. And 70% of our users have said that they take an action related to something they've seen on YouTube. So I don't know about you guys. I like to think that I cannot be fooled by advertising, saying that not that you're being fooled, but I won't be convinced through advertising. But I have to admit, I am very guilty. I recently bought a house, and I bought a lot of the stuff that I have in my house that I had seen on YouTube, whether it's like my kitchen utensils and all of this sort of stuff. And actually, probably my most favorite thing that I bought is my kitchen utensils, which sounds kind of weird. And I saw it while watching a makeup tutorial. So YouTube really helps you find your consumer where they are, because those two things might not equate to us, but then the algorithm helps us find users where they are in their journey. And I'm very happy that it does sometimes, because I do end up with some things I didn't know I need. But all of that to say is that really wherever your consumer is, you can find them on YouTube, but it is important that we get them at the right stage using the right products. Also, speaking of YouTube and discovery, it's also very important, as you guys know, to really look at your media strategy in a 360 view. We don't want to look at anything siloed. We don't want to look at search siloed. We don't want to look at video siloed. It's really how everything works together. So what we've seen is people who add discovery campaigns to their search campaigns see a 12% increase in search conversions. And people who add YouTube to their search campaigns see an 8% higher search conversion volume at a 4% lower CPA. So that's not to say that you're not going to get conversions on discovery and YouTube. We want to get those as well. But by the nature of YouTube, for example, a lot of people are watching their video and they don't want to exit out the video. So they open up a new tab and either search or go to the website that way. So Again, it's important to look at it in a 360 view and not just siloed, and how all of the products work together. And we'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about audiences and a little bit deeper into each of our products. So let's get into each sort of aspect of each product and how you guys can use it to reach your business goals. So first, we want to show up at every stage of the buying cycle, like we talked about, awareness, consideration, and conversion. You want to make sure you use the right audiences, because if you don't use the right audiences, you're not going to get the outcome that you're looking for. Each of our products has a different bidding strategy based on your business goal. So you want to make sure that you're using the right product for whatever your goal is. And obviously, lastly, measurement, super important. If you can't measure, what's the point? We want to make sure that everything is working. So let's start out with showing up at every stage of the buying cycle. So first things first is you want to define success for your business goals. So as you can see here, this is a nice little checklist that we hope will help you guys. On the left, you have your different goals. So if you're looking for a reach goal, an awareness goal, an ad recall lift goal, you want to do one of our awareness products, which is like TrueView for reach, for example. And then if you are looking for middle funnel consideration, such as ad recall, consideration lift, or website traffic, because that shows an intent, you want to use our TrueView consideration middle one for views. And then finally, if you want conversions, you want to go for our video action campaigns. So website traffic or conversions, whether that's sales or leads or whatever you consider a conversion. And we'll go into a little bit more why it's so important to define your business goal first before picking whatever product you're going to jump into. So again, we have sort of the full funnel here. You've got reach, which is to achieve, again, the most efficient reach. So that's seeing the most people, or most people seeing your ads, all the way to conversion, which is to drive action. Something to keep in mind with these is, for example, sometimes we see clients who want a conversion, but they use an awareness campaign, and then they're upset that they're not getting conversions. When you choose your product, when picking a YouTube product, if you're choosing a reach product is like, and then evaluating conversions is like asking someone to walk and then evaluating their running performance. It's doing what it asked you to do, or what you asked it to do, such as get an efficient CPM. Because sometimes, for example, when you want a conversion, you might bid a bit more for an impression because that person's more likely to convert, but then ultimately you'll get a lower conversion, a lower CPA cost, because you're reaching the right people, just bidding a bit more for them, as opposed to reach when you're just trying to reach more people and gain the awareness. So here are our different formats that you can use for each part of the funnel. For awareness, we have the masthead. We have true masthead. I would recommend for if you're having like a movie premiere or some sort of big, showy, like premiere type of thing, or you're introducing a new product. We also have TrueView for reach, which obviously the goal is awareness, reaching the most people. We have bumpers, those are 6 seconds. And we have non-skips, 15s and 20s. For consideration, we have TrueView in-stream. And then for action, we have video action campaigns. And I forgot if I mentioned this before, but when you're creating your campaigns, you have to choose the right goal at the beginning. Once you've created the campaign, you can't go back and change the goal. So you want to make sure that that goal is defined and then that you are picking the right product. So one of the most important parts of creating your video strategy is that you make sure you use the right audiences. So for awareness, we obviously have more broad audiences, like a detailed demo audience or custom audiences that you can create, or affinity audiences. They're people who are more general. They're not necessarily looking for something, but they could be the people you want. They might not know they need your product. They might not know about your product. So you really want to reach them in more of the awareness stage. For consideration, we recommend in-market audiences. So people who might be in the market for, let's say, a lamp, but they don't know which lamp they want. They don't know what kind of lamp they want. Maybe they're buying a new house. Whatever the case may be, they're in the market, but not quite at that purchase place yet. Similar audiences, so people who are similar to those who have bought your product, and life events. So let's say someone's getting married or having a baby or graduating or whatever the case may be. It's more general. And then finally, action audiences. So customer match. So if it's something that people will rebuy, we recommend doing a customer match. For example, if people are buying groceries online and they've stopped, they obviously have to keep buying groceries. So you want to retarget them. However, of course, if it's something where like it's a mattress where people buy once every 10 years, you might want to detarget those people. So you can use it both ways. Next is remarketing. People who have visited your site and bounced off, or people who added to cart and then they left. Obviously, those are really low-hanging fruit and they've showed a high intent. So you want to reach those people. And then finally, custom audiences, which I'll go into a bit in the next few slides, and explain what those are for those who might not know. All right, so again, here's just a little handy chart for you guys. I don't want to repeat everything you've just heard me say, but if you guys need it, here it is, what to use at each stage of the funnel. And the reason that we recommend these audiences in each stage of the funnel is because if you use an audience that's too broad, for example, in your conversion campaigns, then you're not going to get efficient conversions because it's too high up the funnel. For your action campaigns to be successful, you really want to reach those people who've already shown a high intent and have shown that they're lower down the funnel using customer match, remarketing, and custom intent audiences. So what are custom intent audiences, for those of you who don't know? So something that we have at Google, which we're very lucky about, is also we have Google search. So what custom intent audiences are, is what we recommend is taking your top 10 to 15 performing keywords and retargeting people who have searched those keywords. So in action campaigns specifically, we recommend having a different ad group for each of your audiences. And for example, you'd have one generic custom intent audience, so using your top 10 to 15 generic keywords, maybe, and also an ad group for branded keywords, and maybe another ad group for branded keywords. So, a competitor keywords. So a competitor, branded, and your generic keywords. And then also you could also bring in for Black Friday or any seasonal keywords and then pause those later and sort of go with whatever season you're in. We also recommend having always on or always using the same action campaign, because then you gain the learnings and you can keep your learnings. We don't want you to keep starting new campaigns. You could always pause ad groups, pause creative, and restart them. With the custom intent audiences, the reason they work, and there's something that we're lucky to have for people who have shown a high intent, is let's say 100,000 people search for your keyword, only 15% click, which is actually a pretty good click-through rate. But then that's still, if I'm doing my math right, 85% of the people didn't click. So 85% of that 100,000 people who searched have shown a high intent that they're interested in your brand or your product, but they didn't click. And then also of those 15% that click, not everyone's going to convert. So you can use these to retarget people and hit those people who've already shown a high intent and are most likely to convert. And again, that's how everything is really working together. Next is bidding towards your business goal. Again, very important. So as we talked about, the different products have different goals. So for awareness, the bidding goal is a target CPM, because again, we want to be efficient. We want to reach the most people for the least amount of money. So those awareness has a TCM goal, a TCPM goal. For consideration, we want people, they're already considering it. We want people to watch your ad. So that's on a cost per view. And then for action, it's either a TCPA or a max conversion. And we're actually recently rolling out TROAS, but there are some conditions there. Feel free to follow up with any questions on doing TROAS for action. And like the analogy I used before, you want to make sure that you use it's so important, and I apologize for keep repeating it, but it's just so key, is choosing the right product for your goal, because you want to make sure that the product works for you. And that if you want action, that it is getting and bidding towards the most efficient CPA as opposed to the most efficient CPM. Finally, obviously measurement, very important. Again, we measure differently at every stage. And for awareness, we recommend looking at unique reach or brand lift. We offer brand lift for free. There is a minimum spend, but that's only so we can make sure that we get enough responses, that you get results. But we do have brand lift. We also have, I'm not sure why it's not on here, we have search lift, which I highly recommend doing. So search lift shows how many people saw your ad and then searched for whatever keywords you choose. And then for consideration, we recommend brand lift or clicks to the website, because that's showing they're considering it, they're doing more research, views as well. And then action, we recommend views and also conversions or micro conversions in terms of measurement. So what about creatives? Another very important part, which RocketMill will get into a little bit more. But we as Google have some options as well that we work closely with RocketMill on, just as so you guys know. So you can work with Google editors for already existing creatives. So let's say you guys have a creative and you want to switch it to, you might have an awareness creative that you want to make an action creative, or you have a generic creative, you want to make a holiday creative or anything like that. We can help you do that. But of course, again, you want to keep RocketMill close at hand, because they are the experts and they'll help you guys work with our teams in order to really get what you guys want and get best practices and make sure you're getting the most out of your creative. So RocketMill will work closely with our team as well. We also have something called Creative Builder if you don't have videos, and we can help you with that as well. If you guys have social assets that you want to create into videos, RocketMill can help you guys do that as well through our video creation tool within Google Ads. Finally, we have something that you would want to add to your campaigns, if you can, is our product feed. So what our product feed is it's basically taking in your shopping campaigns so you can see the feed underneath your video. So let's say you want, if you can, you want obviously the products underneath your video to match what's in the screen and in your video. So that way, let's say someone sees a watch that they want, they can click on the watch and buy it right under the video. So highly recommend those as well. So I am going to hand it over to Ian, who is your RocketMill creative expert, and he'll talk to you guys a little bit more about how they can help you guys with creative and get the most out of your campaigns.
Thanks, Jamie. Bit of a spoiler alert there. Sorry about that. Got a bit kind of trigger happy with my clicker. Lovely to see you all today. Thank you very much for taking the time out to see us. I do apologise for how vivid my top is looking. I think if you do need to change the contrast down with your telly, then by all means do so. It's looking quite vivid here. So the title, well, I'm Ian. Lovely to meet you all. I'm the Executive Creative Director at RocketMill. My talk today is called Go Home Creative, You're Drunk, Why Aligned and Brand and Performance Relies on a New Approach to Creative. Something I'm very much passionate about, and hopefully I can relay this to you guys in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. As you can see, my talk is in homage to one of my favourite memes. You may be familiar with it. There's a few going around. Some examples include Go Home Rainbow, You're Drunk. Go Home Truck, You're Drunk. It's in a tree. Shouldn't be in a tree. And Go Home Horse, You're Drunk. It's got jeans on, which is just silly. It shouldn't have jeans on. So obviously the commonality with these memes are that they're all not quite right, all not behaving as they should. And I feel that the creative industry, to a degree, is a little bit drunk as well. So, and I will tell you why. In essence, I feel it's a little bit lost in the current landscape. I feel like we have had such an uptick and surge in technology advancements, as the guys have shown you already, some of the stuff you can do now. The processes surrounding that technology is forever changing, and obviously the pressures that we all feel on a day-to-day as well are quite unrelenting at times. So with that in mind, there's a lot of change happening, and the creative industry is kind of sort of looking around trying to work out where to put its focus. It didn't used to be that way. So in the 60s and 70s, I'm sure you're all familiar with Mad Men. If you're not, it's a kind of American drama based on kind of the advertising agency a few decades ago. They knew exactly where they fitted in creative agencies within this time period. There was a lot less targeting capabilities back then. So as a result, we had to speak to a kind of broader audiences. And one of the kind of key things we could change was the messaging, the quality of messaging, to be the key differentiator between one product or one business over another. Then this kind of sheepish, unassuming man came along and created something called the World Wide Web. Apparently it's quite good, check it out. This changed the kind of face of marketing as we know it. Ultimately, advertising really up until now was a kind of, businesses projecting messages to people, as I mentioned. But what the World Wide Web and the internet did is allowed consumers to search for what they wanted and to kind of show behaviors and intent about how they're consuming online. And this obviously changed the way we could market. We could target them at different points in their journeys, for example. And marketing kind of took on many different forms, usually in the forms of acronyms, as we're probably very familiar with: PPC, SEO, CRO, UX, etc. So this is the time that I kind of came into my career. Hugely exciting time, lots of innovation happening around me. But as a creative, and I kind of come from a graphic design background, it's very difficult for me to know where to put my focus because of all this innovation happening around me. So where does that leave myself and the creative industry as we know it now? So I believe that when it comes to creative outputs, you can put it into sort of three broad categories. If you're looking at the agency landscape generally, you would have sort of creative agencies that are evolved from the Mad Men days. They've obviously modernized, they're creating fantastic work across the board. Media agencies that help them fulfill that as well. This tends to be usually still at a kind of broader level through TV, out of home, etc., above the line activity. Then you would have performance agencies that are kind of quite comfortable in a digital sphere, where we're taking these behaviours, this data that's now available to us, and being much more granular and targeted with how we can talk to people. So all the outputs that these agencies provide are hugely valuable and specialist in certain degrees. But what happens from a creative perspective, and creative fits into all of these in one way or another, is you tend to get different outputs. You would have kind of brand comms from creative media, and then you would have tactical comms from performance. And as a result, this leads to kind of inconsistencies in what you get. And I believe this is a problem. I think it's a problem because ultimately for the user, it leads to a fragmented creative experience, which ultimately will mean that you're not getting the full amount of potential from your media spend and your marketing spend. Yes, so that's that. And I guess the key irony with that is, and this is one of my favorite slides, you may have already seen it, it does the rounds, but it's creative is the most significant lever you can pull when it comes to improving the performance of your media campaigns. It's super important. We know this, there's lots of studies on this. This is one from Nielsen, but it's not just performance media, it's media across the board. Creative is a real key differentiator amongst the activity that you do. So it needs to be considered within the activity you're running. So thank you, Jamie, for a great talk earlier about what we can do with YouTube and the capabilities surrounding it. I particularly love this slide, which kind of talked about how you can use the platform in different business goals. So whether it's to kind of achieve reach through maybe like time skippable ads, more long form, or you're using the engagement functionality in the middle, allowing people to skip ads, etc. And then driving action with CTAs at the bottom of the funnel. It shows you the kind of vastness you can do. It's not just all about driving action. There's so much you can do with this platform. Incidentally, with this example, obviously what Jamie's put here is obviously three different creatives from three different businesses, and they are all those creatives obviously optimized for that business goal. Often what happens is we want, as marketers, want to kind of try and achieve all of these business goals to one degree or another. So when it's one business and consequently, the creative you need to put in, what tends to happen is this: you would tend to have the same creative that's being used across multiple different business goals. And that's usually because of process or cost or whatever. But what tends to happen is you don't really fulfill the potential of all of those business goals because the creative's not optimized for that thing. Perhaps one, depending on the creative you're using. But if you're kind of trying to use the creative in multiple different ways, then you tend to kind of, you're not fulfilling the potential of that platform. So this is the time where we need to pull ourselves together. We can see that the industry is starting to settle down a little bit. We can see the data is saying that creative is super important. It needs to be front and center. And the tech platforms are providing functionality and innovations that are allowing creatives to really play and have fun within these platforms. So the time is now to stop feeling a bit drunk and a bit lost and kind of get back into the fold. So we feel like we're onto something with RocketMill. We really pride ourselves in trying to bring this kind of bridge between brand and performance messaging and creative. We've done it with a few clients. This is one that I'm going to show to you today called Zen Auto. They are a car leasing company, and they operate in a very cluttered and commoditized market. So they had a challenge for us, which is thus: how can we disrupt the market and develop a unique and valuable proposition that puts customers at the heart of the business? So it's a really exciting challenge to try and solve. It's a challenge that needs a lot of thought, and it needs not just thought in one type of marketing, but throughout the whole kind of spectrum. We need to understand the brand and how it's positioned in comparison to its competitors, but we also need to make sure it works, that it drives performance, and we sell cars. They're quite a young company, so we need to make sure that they can see the results and the return from them. So how we started is we put together a brand strategy. We understood the opportunities, the competitor landscape. We hypothesized where we should kind of play. We put brand strategy together, and then consequently a creative strategy, which is called the Zen way. And I'll talk you through it now. When it comes to getting a new car, there's the old way and there's the Zen way. The Zen way gives you more choice, more car for your money, and more flexibility. So you can upgrade your car as your life and technology changes. If you want more choice, more flexibility with less hassle and lower costs, change the way you think about driving. Don't buy a car, just sell it. So in our research, we could see that there's a predominant buying culture when it comes to buying a car within the UK. And that was something we're trying to shift, obviously, because we're car leasing, and that can be a blocker to Zen's success. We also know that the subscription kind of culture is growing with Netflix and Spotify and renting and so forth. So there was an opportunity to just disrupt this norm. One kind of parallel that we really liked was with mobile phone plans. They have a fixed term, and then at the end of your term, you would then have the ability to upgrade your phone as your life or inevitably technology changes. This is the same for cars, particularly with the EV revolution happening at the moment. You need to be able to adapt and evolve your car as that technology changes. So this sense of flexibility was the sort of positioning that we really wanted to bring to the forefront within Zen's brand strategy. So we kind of got an idea of the positioning, and the client was very much aligned to this. Before we got into creative execution, we wanted to make sure we planned for every eventuality. So what we didn't want to do is create one execution that had to do multiple different things, as I mentioned to you with YouTube earlier. We needed to have an idea that spawned everything that all of the comms that we wanted to do, whether it be the different audiences we wanted to talk to, the different parts of the funnel, the subsequent channels that we'll be using, and then the different ways that we could talk as well, whether it be affordability, flexibility, simplicity, and the benefits that they offer. That's it. So we needed to plan this out upright into the kind of different permutations within the campaign. Then we got into creative execution. So then we started to think about, right, they want to be a disruptor, digital disruptor brand. So we needed to have a visual that reflected this. But we also love this idea of flexibility and choice. So we need something that worked hard in order to do that. And the device that we came up with was this kind of slider function, as you can see here. And the beauty with this slider function is it allowed us to have a consistent kind of commonality between all of the assets that we created. So these are just some assets that we use at research stage. And you can see how it starts to work for different audiences. It starts to work for different benefits within what we're doing. So yeah, it has a thread that kind of connects the whole thing together. So we did a shoot. We did a TV shoot alongside a kind of content bank shoot where we got multiple different cast members to reflect different audiences, and we shot them all in one day, doing multiple different things, which we could then use within all of the activities we run. They're trying to do an imaginary slider, by the way, if you haven't guessed. It does look a bit strange, but there they are, doing it well. So we understand the way that we should plan it and the permutations we wanted. We understand the content that we had, the strategy we were ultimately trying to achieve. That's when we started to put together a deliverables list, which showed all the different assets we would require. So this obviously caters for different parts of the funnel, different platforms, different audiences, different formats within those platforms. It kind of covers the whole spectrum and make sure that we're making the biggest amount of noise when we launch it. And just some of the assets we created. So there was hundreds that we created using some of the automated methods we've got in-house. But some of them looked a bit like this. So you can start to see how the sliders being the constant throughout. We're adapting it into different platforms. We're showing it for different audiences and for different messages as well. So it gives our media team a lot of flexibility and fun in regards to trying to optimize that campaign as they launch it. And we also did a telly ad, which Joanna is going to put a link in the chat now. If you guys can give it a watch and then just put your hands up when it's done, that'd be great. Here we go. Look at that. So many people want to talk. No, sorry, I'll answer your questions. Yeah. Thank you, Catherine. So yeah, that's the kind of the final piece. But you can see within that the brand device being used. Also, so my little boy is obsessed with cars. He's 3 years old. He just lost his mind when he saw a car flying, which was quite a moment. So yeah, it was a really fun one to do. So it's all very well and good, creative departments or agencies or teams or whatever put together a campaign which lots of different creatives, and we launch it and we go, fantastic, there you go, media team, have fun with it. And that's typically how creatives have kind of worked for a long period of time. I believe that this should change. I believe that creatives should be accountable for the outputs of what they do. They should kind of treat the relationship with consumers as a conversation. It should be that we give them messages and we listen back to see how they've been responded to, and from that we can then evolve and adapt over time. And that ultimately is the essence of performance creative. So we've got a lovely bit of kit here called Octane, which our tech guys have put together. It's got multiple different facets to it, and some for another presentation, I'm sure. This one is called What's Live Where, where it takes all of the different channels that we are running creative, and we can start to see how each one is performing based on whatever targets and metrics we set. So it's super handy because it allows creative team, media team, client to have a single point of truth where they can see how things are performing to a granular level with the client. And with that, one other thing we try to do differently here is the way that we work, the process within it. So we would team up a creative, someone who's can do the graphic design, the concept, and the copywriting, with a media manager who's like fantastic at all things optimization, and they would work together regularly on a cadence, whether it be monthly, quarterly, or whatever, to hypothesize based on this data and create ideas that we can then work with the client to kind of to put live. So this is the sort of drumbeat that we have constantly that goes after and within these campaign pushes that we do. And really, ultimately, it looks a little bit like this. We would have an overarching idea, and then we will want to test within that idea. So maybe it would be different images, different art directions, different regions, different messages, anything that we can isolate and kind of prove that had an effect. They're the sorts of ways that we would test. And incidentally, the stuff that we did there, from a quarter on quarter, the CTR rose by 49%, the CPA improved by 39%. So it does have a positive impact on performance by doing this, even if it is just to combat fatigue, which is obviously something that we always want to try and do within digital channels. So I believe that's the way that creative can get back on the straight and narrow, is by kind of making sure we're talking to all permutations, we're listening to how it's performing, and we're providing consistency for our end users. In conclusion, consistency is key. I think if we're going to really have the maximum amount of impact within our marketing, we need to make sure that what we're outputting is consistent. I believe the way that we're currently working at the moment, due to the kind of surge in tech and innovation that we've seen, it is kind of limiting this to a degree. I believe that because of the importance of creative, it should be front and center in the activity we run, and it should be constantly talking and evolving to all the things around it. So it's the strategy you're running, the technology you're using, the media you're running, and the production approach you have. I think that should be an organic thing, and it should always be kind of listening and evolving. And that ultimately will lead to better effectiveness with your media spend. Technology provides the potential. I think we've seen this with Jamie and Cello and what they've kind of provided to us today. Centralizing your creative feels it. Thank you very much for listening. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you, Ian, for that. And thank you also, Jamie, for your side of the presentation. We are slightly over time, but if you still have a few minutes, we are open for questions now. To make it easier for everybody, if you can just type your question in the chat, and then we can pick it up, that would be ideal. And until you can think of your question, I think we have now one already, but we had one before, so maybe we can start with that one, and then we go to that question directly. Jamie, if I can put you on the spot here for a second. We have been hearing a lot about YouTube Shorts. I don't know, is that a new format? Is that a new product? How do we integrate that to the strategy? Do you want to comment a little bit on that?
Sure. So Shorts are brand new and we're super excited about it. Right now, so it's a vertical video. It's a part of video action campaigns. So to get involved, all you have to do is upload a vertical video into your video action campaign, and you will be on Shorts. And Shorts are our new YouTube, like the name suggests, short form content that we're seeing actually do very well. And it seems like creators are really into it. So it's going well so far.
Okay, amazing. Thanks for that. And then we can go to Catherine's question that is, I'm guessing for Ian, did you have many changes to make to your campaign after testing it? And how did you go about testing the campaign?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So because it's got multiple different facets to it, I think you do have to change it. We had some presumptions that, particularly with the audiences within Zen Auto, we had kind of younger audiences, families, and older audiences. We felt that families would would perform best. That was kind of hypotheses that we had. And actually the elder audiences were performing best. So that immediately changed the way that we were approaching our campaign, because we actually felt that our prediction into who we were talking to was actually slightly different. So that was just based on us putting these consequent creatives next to each other and seeing which one's got the best engagement, or whatever metric we were looking at, CTR, depending on conversion. So there's two aspects to it in regards to how do you test it. So there's one where you're looking at just the general performance of the campaign in totality, where you're running like creatives alongside each other, and you've got essentially a survival of the fittest about which ones are being optimized with the algorithms, etc. If you do want to get a specific learning within a creative, so one message over another, or one image over another, or whatever it is, then you have to do it as an isolated A/B test. That's the only way you're going to truly know that that part of that creative had that impact on performance. So it's a kind of two-pronged approach. You're sort of balancing performance and making really top-level assumptions that's happening based on the way that the algorithm's weighting it, or you do it much more isolated and contained, where you know for sure that was the reason why. I hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Thank you, Ian. And we have another question from Matthew, back to the shorts portion for Jamie. The question says, how do shorts performance compare to regular video content? What level of efforts would you recommend? 90-10 splits, less or more?
So far, I'll have to double check of what's internal stats and what's external stats, if I'm being honest. So we'll get back to you on an official stat if we can. But in terms of splits, so right now what you would do is you would add a vertical video to your video action campaign, and then let the algorithm do its thing, and it'll put impressions towards the video if it's performing well. Like Ian talked about, the creative part is so important, and the content of the video. We see performance more based on that than we do the actual, I would say, like placement or anything like that when it comes to shorts versus not shorts. But overall, you would just add it to your campaign and it'll run, and the algorithm will do its best to be the most efficient and get to your goal regardless of where and how it runs.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie, for that. And then if you do have more insights that you want to share, feel free to share with the agency, and then we can share it with the group. We have time for one more question, if anybody has anything.
One quick plug, because Matthew just said content is king then. Great. Exactly. Like we see that 50% of your performance is based on your creative. So like Ian talked about, the importance of having the right creative based on the right goal. So.
Perfect. And we have one last question for Ian. That is, how do we know whether or not a creative will work for a particular platform or a goal?
So yeah, there's a multitude of different ways you can look at this. I think you can obviously measure its performance while it's live. There's obviously the stuff that we showed you earlier, where you can look at it on a kind of creative by creative way. So there's the data is available within those platforms. There's also collective ways you can look at it, incrementality testing, MMM as well, where you're looking at the wider picture about how different channels are performing and what impact one channel has over another, and the creative surrounding that. For me, if to kind of make it a little bit more simplistic, if you're wanting to create a creative for conversion, for example, then there are kind of things out there. There's guidance out there from a lot with YouTube and other social platforms that kind of give you one that kind of springs to mind for me is the ABCD that YouTube put together, which ultimately looks at awareness, brand, connection, and direction. That's a really nice sort of structure when it comes to using YouTube in regards to the things that you want to do and the order you want to do it. So check that out, give it a Google. It's a really good bit of guidance for you there to get you started.
Perfect. Thank you, Ian. And then Catherine is asking about resources for YouTube Shorts. We constantly share from our side resources with the agency. So then after today, we can share more things. We can put something together for the group to make sure that you have it for your own strategies. And then as a wrap up for the event, I think it's important to note that we are here to help you, both Google and RocketMill. So please feel free to reach out to these people here. Maybe, I don't know, can we skip to the next slide to show if you have questions, you can reach out to them. If you're already thinking about your 2023 planning and how you want your strategy to be like, now is the time to do that. One thing that I love about RocketMill's offering of the total performance solution is that it allows for brand and performance to be all sitting on the same roof, which is ideal for a strategy. We saw it with the case study that Ian presented today, which is amazing. So just as a closing statement, if you will, I want to reiterate that it's crucial to see what intention we have with the creatives that we create. And one saying that I love in the digital advertising is every ad is a performance ad, which means that no matter where in the funnel the ad is, it needs to perform. It needs to do what we are asking them to do. So it's just a matter of finding that balance with the bidding, with the creative, with the audience that we choose, and all the things that we saw today. So thank you, Jamie and Ian, for your presentations today. Thank you for RocketMill for hosting us today. And as I said, if you have more questions, if you want to follow up with the conversations, please feel free to reach out to the folks at RocketMill. I think that's everything for today. Wish you all a great rest of the day and the week, and see you next time.
Thanks, guys.